Good afternoon. I'm Sock Marionette. I am a middle-aged lady in a tiara, doing business as bargain counter argument. And it looks like there's not anybody here yet, but maybe the counter is lying as per usual. And oh, maybe there is somebody here. And of course, you could be watching this back in some distant future. If you could just, if you're watching back from some distant time in the future, just please drop comment with a link to some pictures of Taylor Swift's wedding dress. That would be awesome. Thank you. Abby Jean. Hey, Abby Jean. It's been a while. Nice to see you. I do not have my act together today. I just time got away from me. I discovered a new kind of logic puzzle. I don't normally like logic puzzles, but I always think that, and then I do one for whatever reason. This is on sporkle.com, which is like a quiz website. And I think I don't like logic puzzles, and then I find a playlist of logic puzzles that I actually enjoy doing. But they're time consuming, but time goes by so quickly that I lose all track of everything, which is a nice place to be in, except when you have something scheduled. Good to see you too, says Abby G. Awesome. Yes, I am not wearing the mermaid tiara today. I'm wearing this one, but it's still up on the tree for now. I'm going to redo the tree probably next week. I don't know. So today's deal, as you may have seen from the description, and as I discussed last week I read A Dangerous Sentiment by Lynn Erickson, which was this Harlequin super romance from 1986 or 1987. Roxy! Hi, how's it going? And anyway, and that was like a 300-page book. Fortunately, I'd already read about 60 pages. We're twins, says Abby Jean. Oh, are you wearing your pale blue tiara? My top is also blue and white stripes. Oh, this. And I have like a tank top underneath it because I got a bunch of tops at Marshall's, but I got like extra big. And so like pretty much all of them, there's only one I think that was a little smaller. All of the rest I have to wear like something underneath it. Otherwise, the neighborhood's seeing something they don't need to see. I saved that for OnlyFans. Anyway, so yeah, last week I read that super romance, which was 300 pages long. I went a little bit long on the live stream so I could finish it. I was reading it during the sprints and bringing people up to date on what was happening. I had read the previous week, I had read like the first 60 pages or so I was able to do it. But I decided this time I enjoyed doing that. I thought that was fun, and I think other people enjoyed it too. I hope so. And so this time I thought I'd do something a little shorter, which is an old school Harlequin Presents. This is can't see what I'm doing. The Kisses in the Wine by Violet Winspear. This was Harlequin Presents number 18. And this is actually a reissue, but it still has the sprayed edges, which they stopped doing fairly early on. But this one is 186 pages. So I'm hoping I can get it done today. However, before we do that, we're going to do 10 minutes of yuck because I got a late start. My bedroom's kind of a mess. I do this from my bedroom because beautiful downtown my bedroom is very close to the wireless router, which is like downstairs and over a few feet. So it's about as close as I can get upstairs and not have to worry that I'm gonna be too far away or whatever. Ooh, I just curl my hair. Like how I like this side, but not this side. I got to brush it out a little bit. So I have a big pile of stuff on the bed. I want to make that and sort those, put what needs to go in the wash, what needs to be put away gets put away. So it's that kind of tidying. So Roxy says, doing okay. This week has been challenging. Love your tiara. Thank you so much. Thank you. And yeah, so we're going to be doing the 10 minutes of yuck. Let me call up the River 105.9 variety from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, mostly the 70s, mostly the 80s, come to think of it. Okay, variety from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, because this is what I'm going to be listening to. I'm going to be listening to this while I do my 10 minutes of yuck, but when I start reading in the long breaks, I am not going to be listening to this because I find music too distracting, especially if it has lyrics. I find it too distracting to listen while I'm reading. So let's see. And so we are going to be sprinting until 15 past. Sprinting until 00:15. That means 15 minutes past the hour. And here is the link. And I'm going to mute myself and I will see you in 10 minutes. Oops, let me put that up. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes of yuck. My tiara feels like it's like on the verge of falling off. I don't know. Last time I wore it, maybe my head was a different size than it is now because that's how physiology works. And Stormy is here. Hi, Stormy. Yes, today's deal. Today's deal is I will be reading this classic Harlequin Presents novel. It's 186 pages long, and it was published in 1973. But first, I'm going to do a quick little haul before we get into it, because I found a bunch of category. These are just some category romances I've picked up lately. There's this used bookstore I go to in Milford, Connecticut called Penny's Bookshelf. And Penny's, she has like a bunch of category romances that she puts out for like, they're 4 for $1, except she's like, it's a 2 for 1. So it's like 8 for $1. She's basically just trying to get rid of them. And they're from these lines that didn't last very long or whatever. Well, actually, not all of them are from lines that didn't last very long, but they're kind of. Oh, what is the title of the book you're going to read? It is The Kisses in the Wine by Violet Winspear. However, I'm just going to talk about these books that I picked up the other day at Penny's, because we have a Harlequin romance, The Billionaire of Coral Bay. We have a Harlequin Blaze. I don't know that they do Blaze anymore. Wild and Willing by Joanne Rock. Is that what that says? Sure, you bet, why not? And you can see he's painting her toenails because they watched Bull Durham and they were like, oh, yeah, that's sexy. And we have a Daphne Clare, who I don't know. She's been writing, I don't know if she's still around, but she's been writing for Presents for like an age. This is from September 2003. I think she'd already been writing for them like literally over 20 years at that point. This one's called The Marriage Debt. And let's see. Another Presents, The Forbidden Cabrera Brother by Kathy Williams. I just like really liked her hair and her dress. I just thought she looked very chic to me. Storm Reed says, oh, I wish I could find some good deals like that. Well, if you want to take a road trip to Connecticut, I think you'd probably spend more on gas than it would be worth. But, oh, and here we go. Here's another one. Oh, my gosh, this is so freaking stylish. This is from May of 2022. And this looks like it's set at least partially in India. It's His Bride with True Royal Secrets by Marcella Bell. But look at this cover. Oh my gosh. You have this sort of Southeast Asian architecture, and she's got this gorgeous orange gown, and she is showing the leg. She's an engineering genius. She's showing some leg there. And let's see. Okay, and then I have some weird one. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. And another Harlequin romance called The Game Show Bride. I think it's a reality TV game show. This is from December of 2004, so that was fairly early on in reality as a genre in the US anyway. And then this line that is defunct. I had never even heard of it before I saw this book. The line is called Kiss, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's slightly over 300 pages long, and the book is called Anything But Vanilla. It's by Liz Fielding, and it looks like it has some kind of froyo or ice cream shop situation. Anyway, it's a summer romance. Because there's another one of the super romances I have from like 1986 or 1987 is set in a froyo shop, and the wraparound of the back cover is like these older patrons. Apparently, like it's really popular with senior citizens, and it looks like they're like maybe doing some matchmaking. I got to read that one at some point. Stormy says, I think you commented once on it, but what do you think of the Darker Presents covers with the gold circles? Blah. I respect what they're trying to do. I get what they're going for. It's just not succeeding for me. I think that I like a nice dark cover, But like I said, I don't think it just doesn't have. I think if there were some contrast, like if the backgrounds were lighter and like, so let me, like this one. Okay, now the new ones, of course, have the circle is kind of like, I guess it's more like a semicircle, and the whole cover is dark. I think if they did that, because the circle part covers a bigger proportion of the cover, as if I'm recalling correctly, and I do like that. But having like this bit in the circle, the couple's usually on a dark background, and then the cover itself is dark. I think either the cover should be light and the couple should be on a dark background, or the couple should be on a light background and the cover should be a dark background. Not super light, not super high contrast, but just it's too I get what they're going for. I think they're going for some kind of moody elegance kind of look. I just don't think it's really working. Maybe if the circle were like gold and thicker around or something, it's not quite there. Like I said, I respect what they're trying to do, but the execution is just not really there. So yes, between the new ones and the old ones, I prefer the old ones, but I think the new ones, like I said, I think they do have some promise. I just wish, I hope they do some more tweaking, because I think they could be absolutely stunning, but at this time they are not. I think they could have gone more modern, but without being so dark. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to articulate or over articulate. Yeah, I think that I respect it, and I think that there's a lot of promising ideas there, and I hope that they maybe work with it a little bit more than they have, because there's a lot of potential there that's not being realized. Roxy says, nice book haul. I found a where are they? Who am I reading glasses sometimes? I found a honey hole for books. All paperbacks are 10 cents. Hardcovers are 50 cents. Lots of vintage Harlequins. Love it. If you don't mind, could you tell us, like, just give us a general region where they might be? Because if they're in the Northeast, I could go. And then I have two more ones that I did not know this existed. This is from Silhouette. Silhouette started off as its subdivision of, I can't remember which publisher, Simon & Schuster maybe. Anyway, they were very quickly bought out by Harlequin in the early 80s. And then they were completely subsumed by Harlequin. And these are from 1995, and this is number 9 from the series, 1993. And what we have here is Silhouette Shadows, and these are paranormals. So we have number 9, 1993. This is like, I don't know if this is like a possession thing or a time travel thing or whatever, but it's Jack the Ripper, but in the modern times, except that people know him from 100 years earlier. So I don't know if the dude is being possessed, if he time traveled, if he's immortal. I don't know, but I'm interested. And then Shadow of the Wolf by Rebecca Flanders, which is, we have the elusive werewolf killer. So is he a werewolf, or is it just somebody who's acting like a werewolf? I don't even know. And Stormy says, man, everyone has a fun spot but me. Well, yeah, you have that antique small, which looks kind of fun, but like you said, they're a little pricey. And Stormy says, now there is a space a few towns over that sometimes I can find some good deals, but never for 10 cents. Yeah, because I know I've seen it in your vlogs, which I'm like way behind on watching everybody's YouTube content. It is summer. I don't deal well with summer. And I haven't recorded anything. I've been keeping up with Midweek Motivation at least, but I haven't recorded anything. I tried recording one thing and I didn't like the way it turned out. The idea is solid. I just treated what I recorded as a dress rehearsal. So I'm going to try to do that again. But yeah. I live in Northern California, West Coast. My sister lives in Northern California. She lives in Sacramento. I used to live in Sacramento. I wonder. I should go visit her. I really should go visit her. And maybe borrow her car. Anyway, she lives in Sacramento, so I haven't seen her in person in an age. So Shadows. Now that is something I wish they could come back with. I think they need a paranormal sci-fi line. I mean, hello, jump on that alien romance train. LOL. Yes, except that they seem to be publishing them kind of as one-offs. Like I read an arc that was accidentally wedded to a werewolf, which I enjoyed. And there's like I think it's called Ghost of a Chance. It's also an arc that I'm going to read. Anyway, so that I just wanted to share those. I had all of these books that I was going to haul, and then I ended up spending a lot of time on the super romances. I shared them as I opened the box. I have another one in the mail. And then we did the book brackets, and that was fun. So I had all these books, and I had this huge cart just like full of like 50 books that I never got around to hauling. And I finally just went ahead and cataloged them and shelved them because they were getting on my nerves just hanging out like that. So anyway, that's just, I wanted to share those though. Seemed like a manageable amount. Now today we have the Kisses in the Wine, which I was doing this. Bee did that summer thing. I think it's in its last week now, before she starts her fall thing. Anyway, and it was staycation, armchair traveling, and June was Europe, and the weeks were Greece, Italy, France, and Spain, and then July was US and Canada, and now August is island hopping. Well, this is the Spain book. That's how far behind I am. I am not going to catch up, and that's okay, but I'm going to read it today. It's called The Kisses in the Wine. It is by Violet Winspear. She is a British, I don't know that she's still alive. She, very old school. She was writing for Mills and Boon before they started Harlequin Presents, because I think they were already republishing as Harlequin in North America and had been for quite some time before they started Presents in the early 1970s. But anyway, so let's see. Here's they actually have a little biographical blurb about her. Violet Winspear, this writer, a true Cockney, realized during wartime that people occasionally needed to escape life's harsh realities. Her colorful romantic novels have provided that escape for millions of her devoted readers around the world. So when they talk about the war, they mean World War II. Roxy says, oh, wow, I'm about an hour north from Sacramento. My mom used to spend part of her summers. My mom's grandparents, my great-grandparents, had a ranch in Meridian. Was it in Meridian? And my mom actually, during World War II, her family lived in East Nicholas. So, Meridian, East Nicholas, Marysville. Yeah. I have an ancestral tie to that land. Stormy says, she died in 1989. Thank you for looking that up. I totally didn't know it was that long ago. Well, she was no spring chicken, because so anyway, this book is called The Kisses in the Wine. This is number 18 from Harlequin Presents. So it was early on, and it was the Harlequin Presents edition was published in August of 1973. So I don't think many of you were born yet. And I was like 2.5. And it was the original hardcover edition was published in 1973, also by Mills and Boon. So this one had quick turnaround in making it across the Atlantic Ocean to us in North America. She, because I know another book I was reading that was a very early Harlequin Presents that was also by Violet Winspear. It was the book I read for Greece, The Honey is Bitter. And it had actually been published by Mills and Boon in 1967 and then was published in North America in 1973. So that first tranche. Her photo reminds me of my grandmother, LOL, says Stormy. Yes. Okay, so The Kisses in the Wine. So that's the background on that. Now here is the stuff. Oh, another comment. Stormy says she loves novels with titles that have devil or Satan in them. Well, she's writing from a time when, the heroes are just like completely jerks frequently. And sometimes they learn to be better and sometimes they don't. I think in the Honey is Bitter, he was kind of a jerk, but he actually was a jerk with a heart of gold. Like she found out that he owned this island and he was super rich and everything, but he ran the island essentially like a co-op for his the people who live there. And he subsidized the education, the hospital, that kind of thing. But it was just kind of like very, very progressive the way he ran it. Benign billionaire. She didn't want to be part of a lie. Lise supposed that she should be grateful, and she was. The imperious Conde Leandro de Marcos Reyes had helped her. Oh, excuse me, Conde de Leandro de Marcos Reyes. I don't remember which ones you're supposed to list. I don't know. I learned what Spanish I know. I learned in California, so had helped her out. Anyway, this count had helped her out of an awkward situation. Isn't that the way? But she was not so grateful that she'd pretend to be his fiance. I mean, maybe send him a thank you card, flowers, bottle of his favorite wine, or some beer or something, but pretend to be his fiance. The Conde was a domineering, Spanish nobleman who took what he wanted. Ooh, I'm going to take what I want. See that thing over there? I'm taking it. Okay, Conde, we'll give it to you, senor. But a conquistador type man who regarded women as playthings was not Lisa's idea of an ideal husband. Probably never even loads the dishwasher. He loads it. She tells him to load the dishwasher, and then he does it wrong on purpose, just to make, you do it so much better than I do. Yet he excited her. She wondered what it would be like to really be his intended wife. So we got some kind of arranged relationship, fake fiance, fake relationship. She's got a very Mia Farrow look to her, like Mia Farrow in Rosemary's Baby with the wayfish, but the high cheekbones and the big eyes, and quite lovely. And look, he looks like he is just like ready to threaten to fire somebody at any second. And there's a fancy car. Anyway, this is set in Spain. Stormy has a comment. There we go. I have several of hers, says Stormy, but I haven't tried one yet. I even have an omnibus of 3 of her novels that is from the 70s. I was excited to find it. I remember reading some of her stuff back in the early 80s when I was reading this. She was never a favorite of mine, but when I read The Honey is Bitter, and I think the book I read for Italy, which I can't remember the name of, I think that was also by her. And then for the France book, it was Mary Wibberley. But I remember not particularly enjoying her stuff as much when I was a kid. I wasn't excited to find her books the way I would be excited for Charlotte Lamb. Love Charlotte Lamb, still do. But when I read the other 2 books earlier this summer, I did enjoy them more than I expected to. So what I'm going to do is we're going to have a half an hour sprint. And then I am going to go and read for a half an hour. And I ordered some special Post-its, sticky tabs for annotating. And I chose this color palette because it kind of goes with this. And yeah, so I'm going to leave this camera on the tree because I'm going to go hang out on my bed because it's the most comfortable. But, I'm going to leave it on the tree, though. I shall be editing. Blah. I wish I had something to edit. But I will. Mm-hmm. And Abby Jean says, fun, special Post-its. Yes, because it's I need to kind of mark things so that I can share them with you. Mm-hmm. I may even have to take notes, but I prefer to keep it a little more casual, but that kind of isn't as organized. And, I don't like being disorganized. It pains my very soul. Okay, so yeah, so this is going to be a half an hour, a half an hour sprint, which will take us to 4 minutes past the hour. So I'll round it to 5 minutes past the hour. Okay, and I'm going to add the link for the radio station. Oh, Gwen says, hopefully she wouldn't be as into boobs than the last author. Oh, that was actually 2 authors writing together. But yes, the 34 C's. He copped a 34C wheel. Okay, so sprinting, and I'm going to put the link for the radio station, but I'm not going to be listening to it myself because, like I said, I can't read and listen to music at the same time. That just doesn't work for me, especially if it has lyrics. So I'm going to put that on the screen, and I'll see you in a half an hour. Okay, it's been about a half an hour. And oh, Storm's locked and loaded with what she got accomplished. Stormy says, I almost got done editing. Nice, nice. Always nice when that goes. I assume it went relatively smoothly. So I actually spent the first 5 minutes messing around with my candle. For those of you who may not be aware, I am on Instagram as well as YouTube. And on Instagram, I pair books with scented candles. I pick a candle to go with the book, and then I take a picture of it, post it on Instagram. I think I probably explained that more than I needed to. It's a simple idea. Well, I had picked out my candle to go with this book, but the wick was messed up. So I had to spend about 5 minutes or so just like fussing with the wicks. It's a double wick. One of the wicks was like folded over and underneath the wax. So I had to spend some time messing around with that. So I didn't actually manage to read the whole. This is a, I don't know if you can see, but it has a nice ASMR friendly ribbed jar. The scent is Cherry Merlot, which I thought kind of the kisses and the wine, assuming she's wearing like cherry chapstick or cherry lip smackers because it's 1973. And this jar has this pretty lid that has like a pair of, these are raised actually, cherries. And this is actually pretty sturdy. That's actually screwed in place. So that's nice. And it's got a gasket around the top so that like when the candle is done, I can use it for stuff. So, but as you can see, it's going to be a while before the candle is done. Not my first time burning this one. First time in a little while, but so anyway, like I said, I spent about 5 minutes fussing with it. And so I only read for about 25 minutes and I got to page 38. I'm usually a little slow to start and then I pick up momentum as I go along. But I have quite a few tabs here. So basically, so far, it's delivering exactly what the summary said it would. Her car breaks down on the side of a mountain, and she kind of has to stay there with the car and hope somebody comes along. And this guy, what is his name again? Leandro DeMarcus Reyes. And she frequently like refers to him by his full name, Leandro DeMarcus Reyes, because she's got a word count to meet. And he comes along and he gives her this big lecture about like, oh, why are you just parked in the middle of the road? And it's just like, well, the car broke down. And he's like, well, do you have gas? And she's like, yeah. The gas tank shows that it has gas. So I don't know what the problem is. And he says he thinks the engine's probably held together with, what did he call it? Shoestring and chewing gum. I mean, it is a used car, and apparently not that reliable. And he's yelling at her for being on the side of a mountain, and I don't know. He thinks she's younger than she is. So this is 1973. She's like 24, so she's born like 19. How's that work? 49 or so. And he's 34, 35, so he was born in 1938 or 39. So he's either as old as my father would have been. My dad's birthday was yesterday. He would have been 87, or my mom. And so there's like this whole thing where he's just like kind of a jerk to her, of course. And then this is what he says. He gives her a ride and she thinks he's taking her to town, but he's actually taking her to his house because she's like, yeah, you really should be grateful to Providence. Hang on. He tells her, you really should be grateful to Providence that it was I who came along and not some rogue who would take advantage of your ineffable innocence. And it's like, well, are you really not some rogue who's going to take advantage of her ineffable innocence? I have my doubts. I noticed in a lot of those older romances, they use the full name every time, LOL. Yeah, I don't know if they're trying to, make weight, or I think maybe it is to emphasize that he's a stranger. Like doesn't want to call him El Conde. She doesn't want to call him the Count, but she also maybe doesn't want to call him by his first name because she doesn't know him. Anyway, so they go back to his house. He has a butler and a cook, and he actually assigns a lady's maid to her. Okay. Oh, okay. And this, we also get a fair amount of real estate porn because his house is actually a castle. The sweeping light of the headlamps revealed a structure that took away what breath Lisa had. Stone steps mounted to a great oaken door, and above that rose the frontage of a castle. Frontage? I don't know that that's how I would use that term. And above that, okay, topped by a cluster of square turrets. That's turrets, not turrets. And a long indented balustrade surrounding them. And the entire building loomed and rambled and gave off an aura of ancient beauty and history. And there's like jacarandas, and she ends up the guest room he gives her is like in the tower, and it's all very nice. Oh, and then he basically drags her into the house because she's like, I thought I was going to the village, not to your house, you weirdo. And you must have a glass of wine to settle your nerves, little one. And then he takes her into a room where a log fire glowed in the fireplace and played its shadows over walls lined with deep red leather and masses of books. So, yeah, more real estate porn, book porn. It was such a warm, richly comfortable room out after the darkness that surrounded the castle and the wind blowing down from the Sierras that Lise was captivated against her will in more ways than one. Anyway, so he pours her some sherry that, they make on the estate. So he's like, basically, he's plying her with fortified wine after taking her to his house, castle. And he's like, yes, I need you to pretend to be my fiance. Basically, what's happening is his grandmother, his father's mother, is the old Condesa, and she wants him to marry this girl who is her ward, like him. He's never actually, well, he actually has met her. He's like, she's really nice, she's lovely, but I just don't want to marry her. I don't really want to marry somebody that was chosen for me. And he says his mother came from a convent, married his father, and after his father died and he became of age to claim his inheritance, his mother just like moved back to the convent. And he's like, she likes it there, and the only downside is I don't get to see her very often. But it's just like, so yes. So I'm guessing that grandma is probably kind of difficult to get along with. And there's more descriptions of the castle. It stands on a rocky niche with mountains towering above its turrets, both grim and splendid, half gold and half stony gray. The blue, oh, this is him speaking. The blue jacaranda tree grows in our courtyards where we capture the sun, but when there is a storm, our rooftops are often pelted with hailstones. The situation of the castle is said to dictate the character of the Marcos Reyes family. We are said to be both hot and cold-tempered people. Yeah, I don't know. And then he feeds her. His cook makes some empanadas that are really good. And let's see. Anyway, so she is actually a gifted needle worker, and she worked for a high fashion house in London, and she's been hired to work at a high fashion house in Madrid, and she's like decided she wants to move. She wants to do that. She wants to, she's like 23, 24, something like that. So she wants to kind of explore the world and be independent. And however, it turns out he describes his family. Yeah, they make the sherry on the premises, like fortified wine, and they have all this real estate, but they actually have a business. Let's see if I can find the description of it. Here we go. I should mention that the family business is concerned with fabrics of every sort, from the finest velvet to the sheerest silk, and from the softest suede to the strongest leather. I am the director general of our manufacturing organization in Madrid, and now he's home for his grandmother's birthday. She's turning 80. So basically, it seems like her occupation and his kind of will dovetail. So I don't know if she's actually was hired by somebody who works for his company and she doesn't know it, or if it's just that they happen to both work in textiles. So that's what's going on. And so she slept the night. Grandma's showing up, and she's kind of decided that she doesn't really want to go along with this, but she kind of gets, I don't know, things happen, and she just kind of gets rushed into this situation where she's pretending to be his fiance, because apparently he actually told his grandma, oh, he went to school in the UK, and he's like, when I was in England I met this English girl and now we're engaged. And his grandmother was like apparently rather skeptical. She's like, oh, you have a girlfriend, huh? Yeah, you wouldn't know her, she lives in the UK. And so, but his grandmother expects him to either, present this fiance to her or marry this other chick. And so she just happens to show up when he needs her to be there, I guess. I don't know. It's all very, runs on coincidence. And Gwen says, Kristen Ashley is also guilty of a lot of home porn. I hate the time it wastes. Actually, I'm into it. I actually do like the loving descriptions of settings. I do enjoy knowing what the environment looks like. So that doesn't bother me. That's why I was sharing it, because I was like, this place sounds pretty boss. I wouldn't mind going there. I mean, not if I had to pretend to be some dude's fiance. But yeah, I wouldn't mind going there. So that actually doesn't bother me, but I can see how it would get on people's nerves. So I've dropped my bookmark. So that's, like I said, I did not get all that far because when I start a new book, it takes me a little while to hit my stride and gain my momentum. And I also had to fuss with my my candle, which yeah, it's going okay. Okay, so yeah. So I think it's probably unless somebody wants to share what they've been up to, which I'm sure we'd all enjoy hearing, it might be time for another sprint. Or does anybody have anything they want to say first? Stormy says, so by the end of the next sprint, you will be half done, right? LOL. Well, probably not. Halfway through is like 93 pages. Depends on how fast I go. Like I said, once I picked up my momentum and don't have to fuss with the candle and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, so let's take another half hour. I have no idea how long I've been yapping. Oh, not too long. Okay, so it is now almost 20 minutes past. So let's go until, 10 minutes till. Hope that's how math works. Sprinting until 0050. Again, here's the link for the River 105.9 variety from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But I won't be listening to it. But, they have some good music. So, and I'll see you in about a half an hour and see if I actually am halfway through. It looks like I forgot to mute. Oopsie. Anyway, it's been about a half an hour. And I did not make it halfway through. I am on page 82 of 190. Oh, actually, I'm on page 82 of 186. So I have slightly more than 100 pages to go. The kisses and the wine. Okay. So, how's everybody doing? Anybody reading anything interesting? Darn close, says Gwen. Yeah, I did make a fair amount of progress this time around. And I mean, on the plus side, I didn't have to mess with my candle. My candle's all squared away. I'm also, I am not in my cozies. I'm actually wearing the full complement of outfit. And it's not necessarily the most comfortable in terms of foundation wear, if you know what I mean. And you probably do. So anyway, Stormy says, oops. So I would have been finished editing, but evidently I forgot to mention a book or put in an ending to my video, so I had to film it. Details. I mean, you could always just end it by saying, okay, gotta go now, bye. I mean, that would be succinct, nice and quick. Okay, gotta go now, bye. Okay, so now his grandmother has come to the castle, and another comment from Roxy. Good sprint. I am behind on the July road trip. I'm in Canada. I'm in Spain. Princess Proposal for the Canadian Cameras by Nina Singh. Fake Marriage. Harlequin Romance. 20%. That sounds intriguing. Spain. Okay, so we got more loving descriptions of the house and its contents. Oh, and they go to this garden, which is really nice. It's got all these flowers. It's got hibiscus, jacaranda, etc., etc., etc. And there's like this one corner that's just seems kind of he's walking her through the garden, and they go into it, and it's this like little stone patio with some walls, and she's like glad that she's with him, because if she had stumbled it on her own, she just had it kind of has an eerie feel to it. And he says that one of his ancestors was a Brazilian, and she married his however many greats grandfather, and she cheated on her husband with her husband's brother. And he said at that time in Spain, you know, his her husband could have killed her and would not have, you know, suffered any legal repercussions. And he said, so instead she went into that small courtyard and poisoned herself. And interestingly, when he's talking about like these possessive men and this woman, he says, I don't know that she ever really wanted to be married to him, obviously. He actually identifies more with his however many greats grandmother who killed herself. And he sees like a parallel in that his grandmother's like trying to force him to marry this chick. The chick is Anna, short for Anastasia, and the ward of his grandmother, who's young and innocent. And he's like, at pains to say she's a lovely girl, but I don't want to marry. I don't want to get married to her. I don't really know that I don't want my grandmother to pick my wife for me. And well, his grandmother shows up and she brings Anna with her. So Lise gets to meet Anna, and actually Anna's is actually a lovely, nice girl, and she's kind of got a little bit of a crush on the factory foreman at the textile factory. But she, and now she's actually pretty relieved, actually, that she doesn't have to marry Leandro. They're now on a first name basis, Leandro, because it's not like she has any objection to Leandro. It's just like she's not in love with him. She doesn't, he's okay, and she would have been okay marrying him, but wouldn't have been her first choice. But apparently, his grandmother had, like, when he told her a year ago that he was engaged to an English woman, it was like she had a heart attack, and it's like everybody's tiptoeing around the grandmother and they don't want to upset her because she might have a heart attack. And Lise has decided that, okay, she's found out that actually he's friends with the woman she's going to go work for in Madrid, Franquista. Franquista does not actually work for him. She has her own fashion house, but she buys a lot of her textiles from his factory, and they're friends. And she's like, oh, he wants to be with Franquista, but Franquista is divorced. And this is like not acceptable in Spain at the time. Have I mentioned that this in 1973 in Spain, it was in the midst of a fascist dictatorship? Spain was a fascist dictatorship at the time these events are taking place. Anyway, right wing fascist dictatorship. So, does it really matter? Even fascists are kind of by definition right wing. Doesn't really matter, except that like divorce was even more frowned upon than you would think, for even for a deeply Catholic country. So she's like, oh, he wants to be with her, but his grandmother is like gonna just like have a heart attack, a stroke, and like spontaneous combustion if she finds out that her grandson wants to marry a divorced woman. So yeah. And in fact, his grandmother's there, and she's like, oh yes, I want to. He goes and hangs out with his grandmother, and he's like, oh yeah, you'll meet her later. And his grandmother's like, sends for them because she's like, oh, I need to meet her right this minute. And she's like really upset about something. And again, everybody's tiptoeing around the grandmother. And it turns out that the grandmother got a letter from one of her cronies in Madrid who was gossiping about this Franquista chick and was like, oh my God, she's divorced. And so it's just whatever, man. It's 1973 and we're living in a fascist dictatorship. Okay, so there's that. But even before all of that happens, though, that's where we are right now, is that she's gone to meet the grandmother, and the grandmother's like spazzing out, as it were. However, when they were when they were walking in the garden, let's see, where is this? He says, a garden is like life itself, with thorns to tear, nettles to sting, stones to make a foot stumble just as one looks up at the sky and sees how blue it is. We each have to be mauled sometime or another by the tiger of life. Leandro is a deep soul. Oh, did I mention that throughout this entire time he's been wearing a pinky ring? Throughout this entire time he's been wearing a pinky ring. He's deep. Super, super deep. I just knocked my pillow off the chair. I was so overcome. Yeah, you're deep, Leandro. And let's see, there was something else I marked. I don't know why I marked that page. I don't know. There's just like all this stuff about like love must be hurtful if it's not like if you're not like upset all the time that you're in love, if it's not tempestuous, then it's not really love. And she like buys into this, even though she's never like really been in a relationship. And she's like, "Oh, I know that love has to be tempestuous." And it's like, sweetie, does it? Does it really? Is that really? I have my doubts, but she buys into that, and he certainly thinks that that's very realistic of her to acknowledge that love is going to be kind of really awful. Sounds interesting, says Stormy. It is. So much drama. At all times, he is wearing a pinky ring on his left hand. His left, yeah. And it has a big emerald in it. Pinky ring. So yeah, so that's where we are now. She's meeting the grandmother. The grandmother is like, just like, she gets so upset by reading this letter about this woman who got divorced that she knows her grandson is friends with, that she's like, changes the, oh my gosh, I have to meet her right now instead of like at dinner. And then Lise shows up. Lise is wearing trousers, and earlier, like, Leandro was like, "Oh, you can't meet my grandmother wearing pants. No, just no. You have to wear a dress." And he actually gives her he has like a bunch of fabric in his castle that's like made by his textile mills. And he's like, "Just pick whatever you want, make a dress." She's like, "Well, I do have a dress." He's like, "Wear that tonight, and then like if you have it, just put together a dress, more dresses, all the dresses." And so his grandmother's like, "Oh," demands that they come see her right away. And she's like, "Well, shouldn't I put on a dress?" And he's like, "There's no time. She must see us now." And they show up. And of course, the grandmother tries to issue a beat down over this wearing trousers business. And Leandro has her back, though. He's like, "Well, she was going to change, but you demanded that we show here. You demanded we show up right away. So what you see is what you get." He's poetic. The kisses and the wine. Stormy says, "The pinky ring sounds so mobster-like, LOL. Or I guess maybe rich." Well, I just don't like pinky rings. Yeah, I'm just not into that. It sounds, no. But I'm just like, yes, he's a deep dude who wears a pinky ring. We can all be glad he's not wearing gold chain, says Gwen. Well, actually, he does have a gold chain with a religious medal on it. So, I mean, it is a gold chain, but it is holding a religious medal of some kind, I guess, for San Leandro. I don't know. But yes, he does have a gold chain and a pinky ring and deep thoughts about life. Okay, are we ready for another sprint? Does anyone have anything they want to share before we dive back in? Because like I've got some momentum going, and I do want to know what happens next, but I'd also like to hear what other folks are up to, if anybody feels like sharing. My cherry Merlot candle is going strong. I have a cherry Coke with it, kind of bridge the kisses and the wine. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and set. Oh, Stormy says, "I just finished my editing. Hooray! Yay!" Okay, I'm done now. Bye. Okay, so we are going to be sprinting. Okay, it's 3 minutes past the hour, so we're sprinting until 33 minutes past the hour. And then Stormy adds, "Now I'm going to listen to a middle grade book." Nice. LOL, sprinting until, I'm going to make it 34 minutes past the hour. And here again is the link for the radio station I'm not going to be listening to, but maybe somebody else wants to. And I will see you in a half an hour. And maybe this time I'll remember to mute. Okay, it's been about a half an hour. Hope everybody had a nice sprint. Oh, it's telling me that there's nobody here, but frequently it's mistaken. Yeah, wait until somebody says something before I start. Oh, now I don't get the count. It told me there was nobody here. Now it's telling me there's one person here. I don't know if that's true or not. Anyway, I'll wait until somebody says hi in the comments before I start bringing you up to speed on the kisses and the wine. Oh, Stormy, you said you were going to start listening to a middle grade. What is it? How's it going? Is it good? Or can you tell? We finally got the kisses. Mm-hmm. Muchas smoochies. Mm-hmm. 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 I made it to page, I'm at the start of page 138. Quinn is giving me a nice little smiley emoji, I think. I think that's a smiley emoji. It's a emoji, like a, thank you, Gwen. It's nice to be reassured that somebody's here. Okay, so we have Muchas Smoochies. Shortly after, okay, so I picked up the book. I read just over 50 pages. I'm page 138 now. When I picked up the book, I think when last we left off, she was being dragged in to meet the grandmother. And the comment from Stormy, I didn't get to read as I needed to export my video, and it was on 15% as I edit on my phone. And okay, let's see. I'm wearing, these are, I have glasses for reading books, and then I have glasses for computer work, and these are my reading books glasses. I didn't get to read as I needed to export my video and it was on 15% as I edit on my phone, and the book is on my phone. LOL. Oh yeah, because even if you could do both at the same time, they would take forever. Like your your audiobook would be like really, really slow, and the export would take even longer. Oh my gosh. Exports. Whew. Okay. I am going to read Way Off Base. It's, I think, book 4 of the Area 51 files. It's a fun middle grade series. Area 51. Ooh, sounds fun. Okay. So when last we left, she was dragged in to meet the Condesa, the old lady. She's like 80. And the Condesa says like, oh, another comment. Barkity, Wyoming, Barkity. I don't have any dogs handy, but I do have this little lion. I found him in the gutter around the corner from my house. He had fallen off of some kid's elaborate stroller. And like a couple of days later, I saw this lady with an elaborate stroller or baby buggy or something. And I was like, oh, did you lose this little lion? Because I have him at my house. And she's like, no, we didn't lose a little lion. So I got to keep him. Meow, meow. Okay. Back to the kisses and the wine. Okay, so she meets the grandmother, and the grandmother kind of likes her. And she's like, oh, if you guys are going to get married, you need to exchange rings, like engagement rings. So she's already, Lise is already wearing an engagement ring. But apparently she's supposed to give one to Leandro. So the grandma drags out like her late husband's, the grandpa's jewelry box, and she's like, here, because Lisa's like, I didn't have anything, I didn't have anything to give him. And she's like, here, give him this. So now he's not only wearing the pinky ring, but now he's wearing on his ring finger, I don't know, probably not the same hand. The pinky ring is emerald, and the engagement ring is ruby. So dude's starting to look like a Christmas tree. Yes, we need some cat representation, says Gwen. Oh, well, I do have that. Yeah. There are other lions around. I mean, around the house, but they're like downstairs, whatever. I'll make sure that they're handy next time. Anyway, so now he's got a ruby engagement ring. He's got the emerald pinky ring. I don't know what's going to happen next in terms of his jewelry, because maybe he'll get a tiara. Ooh. Anyway, so so they've had some more conversations, and he said some things that are just like, I don't know. This is 1973, but it's like reading it now, I'm like, this sounds like something that like incels say about women in relationships. So anyway, because I'm like, dude, have you ever actually even talked to a woman before who didn't work for you? Because you're weird. Oh, and he keeps upping the ante too, because he's like worried about his grandmother and so on. And so he started off, he was going to give her a new car, because he was like, yeah, your car broke down and stuff. And if you do this for me, if you do this little favor for me of pretending to be my fiance, then I'll get you a new car, and then like you'll be able to travel around, and you won't have a brand new car, great safety record. You'll be able to travel around and you won't have to worry about your car breaking down. And then he keeps upping the ante. Then he offered her some money. And she's thinking to herself as she's working with, remember, he gave her that fabric so she could make herself some nice dresses to wear, because that's what his grandma wants to see. And they made up this story about how her luggage got waylaid. And but she likes making her these dresses. She's a seamstress, but she usually is working for a designer who's telling her what to do. And this time she got to actually design her own clothes using this beautiful fabric, because she had all this beautiful fabric in the house, in the castillo, in the castle. And so she's actually into it. She manages to get a hold of a sewing machine, and so she's actually enjoying it. And people are like, oh yeah, your stuff looks good. And she's been thinking to herself, because he's now offering her a new car and a bunch of money. And she's like, oh, if I take his money, I can open up my own dress shop and hopefully make enough that I can treat it like a loan and actually pay him back like it was an investment, instead of just like for services rendered. Because I mean, and but now he's actually, when he sees the first dress she makes, he's like, oh, would you like me to buy you a dress shop when this is all over? And she's like, yes, I might like that. So he keeps upping the ante, but he also is showing her this letter that he wrote to his grandmother's physician in Madrid, and he was like, wanted the skinny on what her health condition was like. And HIPAA was not really a thing, not in Spain and not at this time. And it's like, basically, if she has another heart attack, it will kill her. And so he's like, let's just make it real. Let's go ahead and get married, because first he ascertains, she's like, do you like it here? And she's like, yeah, oh yeah, it's neat. And the factory foreman, Chano, that Anna has a crush on, Anna went down to hang out in the convent clinic during the day, because she likes to tend the sick, and there's like a daycare or something, she likes playing with the kids. And so Chano and Lise go down to the village to pick her up, and then they all go and have churros at a little sidewalk cafe. And I could definitely go for some churros now. And she likes it there. And so Leandro's like, oh, do you like it here? Do you like the castle? Do you like the town? And she's like, oh yeah, it's great. I love it here. And he's like, well, you could be the Condesa. You could have this whole place and marry me for reals. Because that's the thing, is that his grandmother keeps making this big deal about how she wants them to be married before she dies, and she wants to hold her grandson in her arms before she dies. And I'm like, how are they ever going to get out of this? And right now his solution is, oh, let's not get out of this. Let's just do it. Let's just get married. So that's where I left off. And there was more loving descriptions of what is the time duration of the book. I'm not entirely sure. It's been implied to have been a couple of weeks, but remember, as far as anyone else is concerned, she and Leandro have been engaged for like a year. They've been apart during this time, because he's been in Spain and she's been in the UK. But as far as everyone else is concerned, they've been engaged for a year, and they've known each other even longer. Of course, they haven't, because they are lying their behinds off. But excuse me, cherry Coke. So I don't know. And she's like, oh, and there have been muchas smoochies. We just finished some smoochies, and she's into it. I mean, the first time he was like, she was not into it, and I was like, dude, this is not okay. This is no. But the second time, it's more of a mutual thing. So, anyway, but still. And yeah, so it's only been a couple of weeks, but a lot of stuff happening. And I mean, originally she was worried about getting to Madrid so that she could take on her new job. And he was like, oh, don't worry. He actually knows Franquista. And as far as she's concerned, he wants to marry her. He's like, don't worry about it. She'll hold your job for you as a favor to me. So must be nice. And except not, I don't know. So that's where I am with this business. It is 186 and I'm on page 138. So I got about 50 pages to go. I should probably be able to get that done in a half an hour in the next half-hour sprint, unless anybody has further comments, questions, concerns, or anything they want to share. Talk to the lion and me. I think my hair is finally like kind of settling down a little bit. I like what it's doing over here now. This side, it's always going to look good on one side. I'm always going to be happy with how it looks on one side and not the other. It's essentially asymmetrical. And yeah, so. Oh yeah, and it seems like the factory foreman is pretty much into Anna as well. Chano is into Anna. So it looks like they might actually, and Lise is actually kind of encouraging that because she's like, well, if somebody gets a good marriage out of this, then my work here will not have been wasted. That's before Leandro tells her that he wants them to get married for reals. But I wonder if the grandma's like, I wonder if the grandma's like faking. And like, if there's a letter from her physician and they're just like, just faking. Oh, and now the grandma's like, oh, and maybe it was a bad idea for me to get my son to marry Leandro's mom because she wasn't really suited for marriage. Well, Leandro's theory is that she actually would have been fine being married to somebody other than his father. If she had met the right dude, that she would have been fine for getting married. But his grandma's like, oh yeah, she probably should never have gotten married. And I feel bad about that now. It's like, oh, you forced one pair of people to get married, and now you feel bad about that and realize it was a mistake. And now you're like, oh no, it wasn't the concept of forcing people to get married that was mistaken. It was just the people. Because she's like, oh, but Lise, you're fine. You guys will have a happy marriage that I force you to have. And I was like, come on, lady. Have you considered the possibility that this entire project is like wrong, and it wasn't just the wrong people at the wrong time? It was like the idea was bad. He's collecting all the jewels, says Roxy. Haha, yes. I mean, what's next? He's got a ruby and an emerald. She's got the sapphires. Is her sapphire engagement ring, and then he also gave her a sapphire necklace to wear. And so, I mean, aquamarines, diamonds. I like aquamarines. Anyway, so I'm kind of ready to get back into it for another half-hour sprint, which, like I said, I should be able to finish it in that time. Momentum is very much on my side at this time because I was like, oh, okay. Are they going to get married for real before the love confession, or is the love confession going to happen after the marriage? Because like he was always telling her, oh, we won't have to get married for real. And I'm like, yeah, you will. Because grandma's threatening to have a heart attack if they even suggest that they're not going to do that. Okay. So it's time to figure out what a half an hour from now is. I have no idea what time it is because it is 49 past the hour. So we're going to sprint until 20 minutes past the hour. That should be a half an hour, and I should be done by then. And again, here's the link for the River 105.9 variety from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Remember, the grandma was born in the 1800s. She was, because she's 80 and it's 1973. So she was born in, how does math work again? 1893. Okay. Again, here's the sprint time and the link to the radio station 105.9 variety from the 70s, 80s, and 90s that I won't be listening to because, okay, see you in a half an hour. Okay, it's been a half an hour. I finished the book, and Stormy said, time to go downstairs to start dinner. So, bye. Hope the book ends well. Well, okay. So, if you've read these kinds of books before, you kind of probably can guess what happened. Uh, he decides to go to Madrid, and Liz assumes he's going to see Franquista, the scandalously divorced lady that she thinks he's in love with. And Liz has decided that she just doesn't want to stick around. She's ready. She's ready to dip. She's ready to bounce because she's like, oh, I am in love with this dude, and he wants to marry me, but he's going to be with somebody else. His father had a girl on the side, and it led to even more tension within his parents' marriage. She's like, yeah, I don't need this. I don't need this. So when he tells her he's going to Madrid, she's like, oh, yeah, have a swell time. And he's like, well, I'll have you know that I disabled the cars on the estate so that you can't go anywhere. And she's like, oh, for Pete's sake. And he's like, and if you, it's just like, shouldn't we just like tell your grandma what's going on? And he's like, if you tell her and anything happens to her, I shall kill you. Anyway, so he bounces, and she is hanging out in the house, and grandma has a companion, Manuela, and she goes to talk to Manuela. She's like bored and frustrated with the whole thing, and she goes to talk to Manuela, and Manuela's like, I'm doing some stitching, you want to join? And she's like, yeah, sure, you bet, why not? She's like, I need someone to talk to. And she says, she's asking Manuela, do you think your boss could bear to be told that I wish to break my engagement to the conde? And then Elise continues, I keep being forced into promises which I can't keep. It seems that everyone matters except me, that everyone's feelings must be considered except mine. It's as if I am a puppet instead of a person, as if I'm filled with straw instead of feelings. If I had no feelings, I wouldn't be concerned for the Condesa, and it's that concern alone which keeps me here. I know her heart is weak, but is it so weak she would suffer collapse if a mere English girl walked out and left a note to say that she can't live in Spain, that it's too far from her family in England? Would she not understand and forgive me? Well, actually, that's not why Lise wants to uh, leave, but that's like the sort of face-saving answer that she would give. And then Manuela says, very possibly, but would the Conde forgive you if the blow to her hopes were too much for her? And then so Manuela lays on this big ass guilt trip about how, yeah, maybe she'll die if you, yeah. And and Lisa's like, oh God, he has no right to do this to me. I was a stranger to him that night. My car broke down, and he brought me here and talked me into posing as his novia, fiance. I thought this would only last a week or so. I never dreamt it would come to this. It's become like a nightmare from which I can't wake up. And it's that point that Grandma speaks up because she overheard this. Lise had no idea she was there, and she wanted to hear what Lisa was saying. And she's like, so Grandma is just like appalled by the whole thing. She's like, oh, for crying out loud, what are you people doing? What are you even doing? Like, she's not mad at Lise exactly. She's like totally furious, like that they think that this is what they have to do. Let me see. I lost where was I? Uh, she says, the weather, it's gotten very stormy outside. And the Condesa, the grandma says, the gods are in a rage. Who can blame them when men and women will play with love as if it were a toy instead of a living element to be treated with reverence? And Lise, my child, do stop looking at me as if I'm about to fall into fragments like the old parchment I am. I am more annoyed over all of this than shocked. So anyway, and then she continues, as a grandson of mine, I gave Leandro credit for preferring gold to dross. leads to anyone else. But if he cannot safeguard his gold once it is in his hands and prefers to gamble with it, then he has only himself to blame if he ends up a bankrupt at the court of love. We do love our metaphors and similes here. So Leandro, of course, shows up and he's just like, oh yeah. She's like, well, shouldn't you be with Franquista in Madrid? And he's like, oh, well, you assumed I was going to go see Franquista, and I just let you believe that. Anyway, and it goes on, and he's finally like, oh yes, well, what does he say? Okay, of course he's loved her all along. He says, you are such an independent, a very British little creature, that if I had told you that our engagement was never for one moment a sham on my side, you would have scorned the very idea that a man could take one look at a woman and know she is the only woman for him. It is a fallacy that the female of the species is more romantic than the male. From the moment I brought you to my castle, I meant to keep you here. You fitted into my plans so well. You fitted into my heart so perfectly. And in my arms, you felt so slim, so adorable. In his arms, shaken and weak, Lise felt like hitting him for the torment he had put her through. You blackmailed me, she accused. You said I had to marry you for the sake of your grandmother. You set such a trap for me that all I wanted was to get out of it. Yes, he said thoughtfully. I went a bit too far, didn't I? You'll have to forgive me for that. And of course she does. Because that's on page 185, 186, and it's just like, so she's going to marry him. But there's a question about, where is it? Oh yeah, here on page 168. Was that when she had fallen in love with him? I think the more relevant question is, why did she fall in love with him? Maybe she just wants the house, and she'll like, yeah, anyway. So this is just like, when people are leery of reading books from the 1970s, this is why. This is why. It's just like manipulation, blackmail, fraud. I mean, it's just all coming together, isn't it? I do like her prose style. I like the way she writes. It's just in service to these people behaving very, very badly. And I do actually, I know Gwen was like, this isn't her sort of thing, but I was just like, I do enjoy all the loving descriptions of the property. The garden sounds absolutely beautiful. I might even put up with Leandro just for the garden and the house. But oh my gosh, it is very evocative. I really did feel like I was there. I was gripped. I was absorbed. But man, these are men behaving badly. And then, like, they're doing this all for grandma. And grandma's like, for Pete's sake, what are you even doing here? Why are you here? Why are you like this? I wonder what women back then thought of this book. Well, I think there was this, I mean, I often say this about these romances, and what I enjoy about them is that this was a dark romance before we had that term. It's dark romance without necessarily realizing it's dark romance. I think at the time, women were probably like, it's escapism. I don't think they were taking this seriously as like, I really don't think a lot of women were necessarily taking this as, oh yes, this is a relationship I want to be in. It's like, I'm going to read this for the afternoon, and I'm going to be gripped and absorbed and read all of these loving descriptions of houses and gardens and places I haven't been. I actually have been to Spain a couple of times, but places I haven't been or haven't been in a while or whatever. I don't know how many people were reading it and thinking that this was like an example of a healthy relationship or anything. And there's a lot. She did this in the book I read by her that was set in Greece, and the one that was set in Italy to a lesser extent, but especially the one that was set in Greece. And this one, there's a lot of like national like, because he's Spanish, he's other. And we are told over and over again, he doesn't look like British men. He doesn't think like British men. He tells her she's not like Spanish women. She doesn't think like Spanish women. She doesn't love like Spanish women. Spanish women. So there's a lot of this exoticism of the othering, exoticism and othering of the male main characters, or for that matter, others think she's exotic. So I honestly, I remember reading books like this when I was in junior high, which would have been about 10 years later, early 80s, and thinking these are not relationships that I would, I mean, I was only like 12, 11, 12, 13, and thinking, yeah, these are relationships I would want no part of. I just wouldn't want to be a part of that relationship. I did enjoy reading them and the escapism, but yeah, I mean, I never thought that these were exemplars of good relationships that I wanted to be a part of. So I don't know how much women thought that this behavior was like acceptable. Gwen says, you need to read Hidden Nature by Nora Roberts. It is a 90% house and garden porn with a little romance and mystery. Okay, Hidden Nature, Nora Roberts. I will have to look into that because, yes, you now know what I like in a book. I do like propulsive plots that just keep moving and moving and moving, which this one, I mean, actually does. Let's keep in mind that, you know, it takes place, I think at the end of it, it's taken place over about 4 or 5 weeks. Oh, and by the way, Chana, the foreman, and Anna, the woman his grandmother wanted Leandro to marry, they're by the end of the book, they're engaged and they're like, seem very well suited to each other. They have a very lighthearted relationship, like, you know, so I was pulling for them, and so was Lee's. But you know, again, this idea that love has to be tempestuous and argumentative and a constant battle of wits and wills, and otherwise it's not really love. Yeah, again, I don't know how much people at the time were buying that, but let's see. Okay. Oh, Hidden Nature just came out. Cool. Thank you for letting me know. Wyoming says, I have a lot of Nora Roberts, and I'm going to have to see if I have that one. It's brand new, actually. I just looked it up because I want to remember to look at it, and it came out on May 27th. So there we go. I have a fair amount of Nora Roberts. I have some of her like romantic suspense, but I have a fair amount of these books that have like 2 novels by her that were published in like the mid 80s, category romances that were published in the mid 80s and have been reissued um, between, you know, in these omnibus volumes, like 2 or 3 books by her. Wyoming says, oh, thanks for letting me know. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Gwen. And yeah, I'm going to have to look into it. May have to wait to get my hands on it because the library is probably going to have it. No, I don't know. Anyway, so that was The Kisses and the Wine from 1973. I was thinking for next week, so that was my Spanish read. So I'm finally finished with my European books. So this is my Canada book, Storm by Vanessa Grant. I pulled this one actually because a few weeks ago, like back in, I think it was late June or early July, Sarah, formerly the Bookish Knitter, I think now she goes by Sarah Reed's Category Romance, but I'm not sure. And of course, she's the Queen of Harlequin. She had this as like the romance of the day. She pulled this out of her collection and read the back of it. And she read the summary and she was like, oh, that sounds like cheating. She does not want to read about cheating. And so she's like, I'm not sure about this. And I was like, oh, I have that. Oh, I'm going to be reading it soon. And then I haven't gotten to it yet. But I think this is what I'll be reading next week for midweek motivation and story time. So I hope you join me then. I do like this new format of reading a book and keeping you updated. I don't like that it's taking as long as it is. So I think maybe next week I'll like read the first 50 or 60 pages, like the first 20% or something like that before, and just we can jump into it right away. Gwen says her husband is a contractor, which explains all the home improvements. Nice. Okay, so yes, this is Storm by Vanessa Grant, and this is from, let's see, this is Harlequin Presents 895 from July of 1986. So we're moving forward about 13 years. Almost exactly. So that'll be next week. And like I said, I might actually read the first 20% or so before midweek motivation starts, because I don't want to go for like over 3 hours again. It's a bit of a long afternoon. So anyway, I look forward to seeing you then. And thank you for joining me now or in the future if you're watching it back. And I will see you next week. Bye.